Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the Positional Sports Talk Show. Posts live streaming on Facebook Live and our Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. We are a sports talk show made for the fans, from the perspective of fans, presented to you by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports for this week. My name is Big Reg, and I'm joined this evening by my partners in crime. In the building, we got Professor J. What's going on, Professor J? How you feeling today?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ready to do a live show. Praise the Lord. Let's get it.
All right.
Let's get it. We got my brother in crime, J3. What's going on, J3? How you feeling this evening?
What's up, fellas? It's time to get it. Let's do this.
Johnny's in the building. What's up, Johnny? Welcome back, brother.
Feeling pretty good. Excited to talk about this show. The NBA bubble is giving me what I need. I
feel great. That's what's up.
We got my main man, Ed, in the building. How you feeling this week, Ed?
I feel good. Glad to be above ground. Let's roll.
And special guest this evening, we have Mr. Zion Bradford, current junior Fort Valley State, future chef, entrepreneur, and a big-time sports fan. What's going on, Zion? Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, glad to be here with all of you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
We are glad to have you, partners. We always try to find and get different perspectives on, not only from some of us old heads with all this gray in our beards and stuff like that, see what the younger folks are talking about. But we got a special segment that we're definitely interested in hearing from you about being back in college on campus, but we'll get to that in a minute. All right, folks, this evening we will discuss college football and the continued sagas they have going on. These campuses are getting out of control, and most of them haven't been back for a week. We'll also hit the NBA first round. As Johnny said, we got some good basketball going on right now. If you don't like anything else, basketball is popping off.
Yes.
Including right now with Utah playing Denver, and they're going at it again. We also going to hit the NFL news of the week. Our newest segment again, we're going to have the post hot takes by my man, Professor J. Other topics that have caught our attention during the week, and of course, our final post of the evening. So we appreciate everybody for tuning in. Sit back, relax, and enjoy Post on the Positional Talk Show channel. All right, fellas. As my man put it, Ed, as the college football world turns, man, it's been crazy. I mean, each week we think it can't get crazier. We done heard all that we can hear. It seemed like it's going to try to settle down, and then, stuff break out. So Ed, tell us a little bit about some of the storylines that you found interesting this week.
Well, I think I found three main storylines that really, really jumped out at me. First, we have the Big Ten and their protest and lawyers and petitions. Number two, we're going to get into the situation that's going on in the ACC and really on college football entire landscape as far as these COVID-19 outbreaks and clusters that are happening, like you mentioned in the introduction, all around campus. And then finally, an interesting tidbit I stumbled upon that was the headlines yesterday was Nick Saban, the great Alabama head coach, claiming that it's not for the money, but rather, and I'm paraphrasing, it's for the kids.
Really?
It's all for the kids.
It's for the kids.
Really?
Yeah. So getting back to the Big Ten, what's going on with the Big Ten? And we briefly got into this a little bit last week, but Commissioner Kevin Warren is taking a pounding. And most recently, it's the parents. It's the parents from all these Big Ten schools that have athletes, children that are participating in these athletics. they actually want to play. Of course, we all know that the Big Ten has suspended all fall athletics. And what's interesting is not only are the protests happening, continuously happening, but now Nebraska is threatening lawsuits if the Big Ten, again, led by Commissioner Warren, doesn't come transparent and release all the information related to why he decided to cancel the season. Now, of course,
he didn't cancel the season.
He didn't cancel the season. The chancellors and the presidents canceled the season.
Right.
But they're nowhere to be found. No one, not one of these presidents or chancellors have actually came out and said, this is the reason we did it.
Yeah, they don't want that smoke.
So what I'm interested in hearing from you guys, does the Big Ten have a legal and moral obligation to the Big Ten community to be transparent with the reason behind the decision for canceling fall sports?
Before y'all get too deep, I'm gonna give you my answer real quick. What have they been transparent about before? And I'll leave it at that.
Good point. Good point. Well, I'm thinking if we talking legal ramifications, I mean, we have a free country that we live in. We all agree about that. But then there's this other thing called private schools, public schools, what the NCAA wants to do, what parents want to do, what kids want to do, what coaches want to do. Where is the happy medium in a time of crisis where just doing the right and sensible thing should come to the forefront and what people actually should do? But everybody's always going to bring out the legality part of everything because they want what they want when they want it. But we've said it time and time again on this show and in our private conversations that all of the leaders of every sport, in government, whatever, they should do what's right by the rest of the people, the citizens of this country. Do we want sports? Of course we do. It's the greatest pastime ever to have a myriad of different sports. But when you talk about people's lives are at stake, when you talk about, people's livelihoods are at stake, when you talk about how we want to stop a virus from just taking over, why can't we follow what our brothers and sisters in the North did and just shut everything down so their country can get back to the way it used to be? But now we're looking at 300,000 people dead by the end of the year. And we got parents clamoring outside Big Ten headquarters talking about they want their sons to play. Again, it all goes back to this. They are selfish and they only looking at the monetary reasons for having their sons and some cases daughters out there playing these sports so that they can possibly get to the next level.
But what I find interesting, Professor Jay, and I definitely agree with everything that you just laid out. But what I find interesting is, A, where were these parents for 5 months? For 5 months, I was screaming at the top of my lungs, where are these parents as these ADs and these head coaches were planning on having a season? These presidents and these chancellors was going forward with a season. Where were they at then? So now, when the decision has been made, they want to backtrack and they want to know, well, why were these decisions made? Well, why is simple, is easy. It's a pandemic we're living in right now. And you can't say, well, other leagues are playing, because that's some of the things that I was hearing coming from parents that I've read some of their interviews and listened to some of their interviews. They're like, well, if the SEC is playing, if the Sun Belt is playing, if the ACC is playing, why can't we play? So it's like it's more of a, well, they're playing, so we should play. It's not, but rarely do you hear anything about the kids' health. And this is really fast, and this is really fascinating because Indiana, which is a part of that league, that mother whose son is still struggling for his life, not to play football, but for his life. Mm-hmm. She came out in a very public statement and said, hey, we need to pause. This is a serious thing. My son is struggling, never been sick in his life. But yet, it's like a footnote now. You don't even hear about it because these other parents, selfish I might add, want to continue with the sport. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Ed, you do realize that these parents want to act like they're talking about they want their kids to play so they can get recognition, so that even if their child has a possibility of going to the next level, it makes it seem as though they're all into their sports and that they're trying to actually play. Trust and believe. They don't really give a damn, because if they did, they wouldn't even have their kids out there. Safety is more important than money, period. Need I say more?
Agreed.
Let's move on to the second point, Ed, because I think the second point is really where I want to talk to Zion about and get his input.
So basically what's going on is NC State this past week became the third ACC team to officially suspend in-person classes because of the COVID-19 outbreak and send their students home. Now, this is really fascinating because what's going on at ACC is North Carolina recently came out. They had the students on campus for 1 week. 1 week. All of a sudden, these clusters and these COVID-19 outbreaks were popping up everywhere. They decided, the administration decided to send everyone home except the athletes. So then they were going to an online only format as far as classes are concerned. Now, this is the problem we're having, because the problem with this is back in May, the Notre Dame AD and several other ADs and commissioners throughout college football said they could not imagine a scenario of having college athletes play football games or whatever other sport you want to insert, but not have students on campus.
Exactly.
So now we're in the midst of online only classes, and a furor broke out in North Carolina because the administration said, what are we having here? If we have kids on campus, these athletes are on campus, but other kids aren't on campus, let's not call these athletes student athletes, but employees.
Ooh. Ouch. Hit them hard, Ed. Hit them hard.
So that's but this is the interesting thing as far as these towns where these universities are located. These kids have been out of contact with most of their friends physically probably since middle of March or what have you. And they're coming back to they're coming back to town without even starting classes. They're going to parties, they're going to bars, and COVID-19 is running rampant through the land. So Zion, this is where I wanted to ask you the question. What is okay, first of all, what's the climate down in Georgia where you go to school at Fort Valley State?
HBCU.
Yeah, HBCU. But but here it's been here at Fort Valley, there are no sporting events going on. They canceled all that this fall semester, as they should. They are ensuring the safety of teachers and students and everybody on campus. Now, I just heard about Georgia overall, especially University of Georgia, having their problems because it's a bigger school and whatnot. I don't know how much exactly, but I know they have cases rising up there. And I really admire so far that, we may have 3 positive testing of students here in Fort Valley, like a week or 2 ago. But lately, everyone's taking it seriously. There's hand sanitizers everywhere. Every building you walk into, people are wearing masks as they should. But to that extent, we young folk, we are so stubborn. I have to say that.
Speak up.
They go out to parties. We know we know ourselves. We're not just going to sit here around. I'm not talking about me in general, but I'm talking about overall. You know, young folk, you know, especially in the Black community, we're not just going to just stay around, sitting around. We're going to go out, have fun, or whatever. But there's a risk factor in that, and you know, and we young folk, we don't really ask, is the risk worth the reward of us getting sick or transferring to our families and friends that may get sick? So in that aspect, you know, colleges should learn to yeah, I think online mostly, but I personally like to stay on, you know, go to class personally. But you know, staying online, if it keeps people safe, then do it. I say do it for, you know, colleges out there, especially young folk who are gonna be foolish.
So are you guys actually? So it sounds to me that you guys are actually having classes,
Yes, sir.
and it also sounds to me that you guys are being safe while on campus. But as far as you know, after the classes ends, it sounds like the parties are still there. It sounds like the social distancing is suspect sometimes. Is there are you guys meaning your brethren, your peers? Do you talk about COVID? Is it a conversation piece?
Yes, sir. Pretty much every teacher brings it up. So yeah, pretty much we talk about it every day. But for our peers, you know, us young folks and our peers, we bring it up sometimes, but it's like as if we don't care or we don't want to hear it. And that could be an issue too, because if you keep taking a blind eye of something so serious like this pandemic, you know, people are going to get hurt if you don't learn and, you know, see your surroundings.
So Zion, I got a quick question for you, and it's a simple yes or no. Are kids wearing masks on campus?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a good look. That's a good look.
I'm glad to hear that HBCU campuses are actually at least trying to do that. I have another quick question for you, Zion. As far as in the class, have you noticed any retrofitting of the classes or designing the classes where they're trying to social distance you some in the class to help with the situation, or is that just not feasible at the school?
Yes, sir. There's definitely social distancing. They gave us an option to either stay online for that day or for students to come in class. Now, if you come in class, you have to be 6 feet apart. So every seat, so you see all these seats, but it can't be all be filled because we got a social distance.
Right.
And so, you know, that's a great aspect. And for those who are online, you know, they feel safer in their dorms or whatnot. Or let's be honest, let's say if you're about to be late for class, you could do online. I mean, that's simple as that. But yeah, we don't do papers anymore. Like we send almost everything via internet or via Word or Google Docs, and you know, everything is just so with technology, you know, technological. So it works. It's weird, but it works.
Hey,
So I heard
Zion.
you mention.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I heard you mention that you all definitely wear your mask during the day at school, but you do see several individuals not wearing their masks afterwards. I'm assuming that some of them are on campus or out and about at the local restaurants. Um, would you feel comfortable? Would you consider it a surprise if a COVID-19 outbreak did happen on the campus based on the kids and how they operate outside of school? It sounds like with the teachers consistently saying something about it, RAs consistently saying something about it. You're so new to school, so all the signs are brand new. Nobody wrote their favorite neighborhood on it yet. So everything's still cool. A month or two down the road, do you see people falling back, not doing what they need to do like they're doing right now and causing issues in the future?
I think it's a possibility. I think so. I hope it doesn't turn out that way, like it has for, let's say, University of Alabama or the University of Georgia. I hope that, you know, not just people, but us black folk would be smarter than what these bigger schools are doing. Because I feel like for HBCU, is it worth to risk all that, especially for HBCUs out there? Because at the end of the day, yeah, it's all about the money, but also, I understand the safety prospect of, teachers and students out there and what made the parents feel. But it could go bad. I hope it doesn't. But, just hope and pray that people do their part, to help the community and this college.
Yeah, I like how you say us young folks. So young folks in the leadership, meaning your SGA and other leaders on the campus, what has the voice been like from your student government association, other leaders that are on your campus?
Let's see, like a SGA and everything. I didn't hear much, honestly. I'm hearing more of the adults more than us young folk about this whole pandemic. Don't mean like they're not young leaders out there, but to your point, I'm really thinking about it. Not much young folk, young leaders per se, have really talked about this issue.
I'm looking at one. I'm looking at a young leader.
Mm.
Right.
Okay.
So as you get as you get settled in, do you see yourself being more of a voice to help other people on campus stay the case? Stay on.
Why you putting all that pressure on Zion like that, Professor J?
Where's my belt?
Why you putting all that pressure on that man?
He can answer it.
Me personally, I'm not trying to back down to be a leader of anything if that is my calling. It's just if I choose to be, or God willing, He wants me to be, I hope I'll be an excellent leader. I hope I'll be a wise leader. That's what I hope to be, and and not be all caught up. Stay humble, not getting all caught up in everything. But
good answer. Good answer.
But
what scripture did you open up from? You preaching? What scripture? I didn't catch the first part.
Y'all funny.
Ezekiel.
Y'all funny.
That's all right.
Hey Zion, I'm gonna get you off the hot seat. You brought up a good point. Talking about one of my favorite schools, Alabama, and Ed mentioned it earlier about our man, old Saint Nick down there in Alabama, talking about it's just for the kids. I want to make sure the kids can play football. As one of our BJ mentioned, and I saw it on TV today, Alabama had 500 positive tests over the weekend, and they just got back to campus.
Just got back.
It's terrible.
Just got back to campus. They ain't been there a week.
Well,
what you say? The mayor of Tuscaloosa had to close down the bars and the restaurants because the kids is going crazy already.
Gone crazy, and he also issued a public safety announcement saying that the fall, meaning the season, in Tuscaloosa is in serious jeopardy. Basically, in Alabama, in the state of Alabama, fall in Tuscaloosa means football, and
Absolutely.
no one in that whole entire state wants that to end.
Yeah,
And
but
so he's telling them, if you want this to happen, then you got to act right. But my daughter is an alumni of Alabama, and she's currently down there. And she told me, we had the conversation last night on this subject, and she says by Labor Day they're going to shut everything down because that's how reckless the kids are acting.
So obviously Nick ain't been watching the news, huh? That's what you're saying?
Nick been in that bubble practicing.
And that's the problem, as Zion mentioned it. The people, excuse me, you've got the student, the faculty, all the alumni who want to see this football thing happen, who want to see kids on campus for a whole bunch of reasons. We won't get into the political ramifications and all that. But you got the actual kids that are going to school that are 17 to 22, 23, and they're going to be kids.
Yes.
And they get away from home. They wilding out like they would normally do. And then they start a pandemic through the whole community. And you got to shut everything down. So I appreciate you getting on the hot seat a little bit for me, Zion, with that. Do me one favor, brother.
Yes.
Stay safe. Continue to be a leader. Don't let anybody put you in a bad situation, but please stay safe.
For sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's move this on to our next topic and actually get into some sports. I don't know about y'all, but this past week and a half, having basketball from 1:30 to midnight. Oh my goodness. Man, I've been going crazy. I missed it today. First game didn't come on till 6:30. I was like, what was wrong?
You're supposed to be working.
Right.
Well, I think
still working from home, and I happen to have access to TV and cable where I'm working from.
I think what's going on, reason for the late start is a lot of teams are out now. I mean, it's the teams are starting to get condensed, and so that's probably why they had less to air, less teams to broadcast.
So, especially when you got teams getting swept.
Speaking about getting swept, let's go ahead and get right on into it.
Yeah.
As we predicted, the Toronto Raptors did what they were supposed to do with them New Jersey Nets. Oh, I'm sorry, Brooklyn Nets.
Get your ass out of here. Get your ass out of here.
But you know what? Brooklyn showed up every game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They played hard. They tried. They were vastly undermanned. So I got mad props for Brooklyn. It'll be interesting to see if Jacques Vaughn will actually get an opportunity to keep that job or not. But we know that the chemistry killer is coming back next year, so we'll have to see what happens with Brooklyn.
Oh, Lord.
When your man Kyrie comes back with KD. Following up with that, setting up a wonderful round 2 matchup, the Boston Celtics ended the experiment.
Yeah, get them out of here.
The 76ers, I mean, trust the process was a failure.
I gotta hold on, Big Reg. Let's hold on that process real quick, because if you can recall, the GM who coined that phrase and who painstakingly guided and acquired assets and talent, Sam Hinkie, he was ousted or gently pushed aside. And so the roster that currently exists, that's not the roster that he envisioned, because they got rid of the Sabonis kid. They got rid of the they got rid of a few guys that was part of it. I'm losing my mind right now. But that actually wasn't his team that we saw on the floor these past couple weeks. Actually, just these past couple years, except for Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Pretty much that's it. He didn't acquire that bum Harris. He had nothing to do with that. He didn't have anything to do with it. He didn't have anything to do with this fiasco, the Jimmy what is that? The Jimmy
Butler.
Jimmy Butler trade. He didn't have anything to do with that. So the process is dead. I will acknowledge that. But it was well on its way of working, but they got rid of the architect.
I hear you. I agree a little bit, But I mean, come on now. Come on now. I mean, as my man Johnny said, I don't care who that Ben Simmons wasn't playing in them games. There's no way when you got Joel Embiid on your roster, you got another max player, whether he's playing like a max player or not.
Yeah, that's true.
You got Al Horford, who was
Too slow.
a perennial all-star. Even though he's old, he still can get that. You get swept. You can't get one game. Come on,
They didn't use their size to their advantage. They tried to run up and down the court, and they got ran out the gym.
And you ain't doing that with Horford on the floor. You ain't running nobody.
Exactly.
So I can't wait for the Raptors Celtics. That's going to be a dogfight. I wish the Celtics were at full strength, but we know how Gordon Hayward is. Hayward get injured every year, so he left the bubble. Y'all hear he left the bubble Friday, went home.
Well, he might as well, yeah.
He real soft.
Stay home.
Right.
You know, I don't actually think it's a loss, because even though Hayward played probably more than he has played in the past 3 years or since he's been in Boston this year. But really, if you go back 2 years ago when Boston had that nice playoff run, Hayward wasn't nowhere in sight. I think he played half of a game that year. So those young pups, those young wings, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, that who makes the straw stir. And then they got the all-star point guard who should be on the Lakers right now. And if they did, so
Kimball getting his for real.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on him, or he gonna go right by.
Kyrie who?
Exactly. For real. And Kimball gets everybody involved, and that's what they like about him.
There you go.
Everybody. Unselfish player.
Go ahead, Johnny. Speak on it.
Keeps the ball moving. I was just agreeing with you. Kemba's an unselfish player. He knows how to control the offense. Completely unselfish, moves the ball. He's a second coach on the floor. People like that are necessary when you want to go deep into the playoffs. I love Kyrie. I think he has great game, but I think he puts too much on his shoulders. He walks around with too much to prove. He has a lot going on upstairs, overthinks at times, and sometimes you just need to think about basketball and what's at hand. I try to put that as nice as possible.
Yeah.
He does psych himself out. He's definitely one of those guys.
He's still Uncle Drew to me. Go sit your ass down.
Moving on to the other sweep in the East, you had the number 5 Miami Heat taking out the number 4 Indiana Pacers, and fellas,
another sweep.
The Bucks gonna have problems in round 2 dealing with the Heat. The Heat already beat them twice this year, and if y'all paid attention to any of those games, the Heat played defense every play. Jimmy Butler ended the game. He could barely lift his left arm, but got out there and got 2 steals at the end of the game with one hand and using his body. And then them young boys can shoot the lights out.
And that's what's going to keep them in the game. If Milwaukee does not produce 3-pointers like Miami does, it ain't going to be no contest because they ain't going to be able to keep up at all.
Man,
I think
need some help.
Before we get into the Bucks, let me just say real quick about this Pacers and Heat game series. Now, a lot of you guys said you was disappointed in Philly getting swept by the Celtics, and subsequently Philly's coach got fired because of it. But I was actually disappointed in the Pacers. Now, I know Oladipo wasn't even supposed to play, but I still thought they could at least get one game. I was really disappointed that they could not somehow manage to win one game. And it was a 4-5 matchup. It wasn't like it was so uneven. I mean, usually in a 4-5 matchup, that's a 6 or 7 game series. So that I was really disappointed in the Pacers.
India still needs another shooter. TJ Warren did well, okay, and then Oladipo did well. But then after that, who else you naming?
Well, they have the kid that used to be on run point for Milwaukee, Brogdon from Virginia.
Who?
Michael Brogdon. He was rookie of the year when he was the rookie. He's a good point guard. Oh wow, here we go.
They're missing some. They're missing some bonus in the inside.
Yes.
Indiana.
If Sabonis would have been played, Indiana may have had a chance in that series to at least win a game or two. Miami just some dogs, man.
Yeah.
And them young boys shoot the lights out. They got multiple guys that can shoot the lights out.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah, I mean, literally, they have 5 on the floor, 5 come back out on the floor, and they shooting threes like ain't nobody get off the floor. You can't keep up with that. Plain and simple.
All right, let's finish up with the East and talk about the Milwaukee Bucks and the newly crowned Defensive Player of the Year, Giannis. They got a 3-1 lead over the Magic. It's just a matter of time before they end this series. So, I mean,
The Magic
I'm not even going to talk about.
The Magic shocked the Bucks on that first game, and after that, the Bucks said we ain't going through that no more, and they're going to take care of the rest of it. So trust me, the next game, they done.
But I think Milwaukee's in trouble because, like I said earlier, before, the blueprint that Toronto put out there last year, as far as collapsing on Giannis and make someone else beat you. Right now, who's the number 2 person in Milwaukee? Middleton.
Middleton.
You know.
Come on, man.
You just trying to talk the man out. Just say his name.
Come on, man. Chris Middleton is he's close to max player as far as what he's making, but that salary doesn't reflect his status as a player.
Well, because he doesn't play hungry enough for me.
Cincy and upset broom.
Well, Big Red just said that.
Yeah. I like Miami gonna give them hell. It's gonna go at least 6, if not 7. Miami gonna give them hell. They're not gonna be an easy out for sure. And then I think the Celtics versus the Raptors is probably gonna go 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we're gonna have some good basketball in the Eastern Conference. Let's hit the Western Conference. Okay, Sense.
Oh Lord.
Here we go. You were right. It was just a blip. Your boys gonna get through the first round. But don't take Kobe night to mean that all is well in Lakerland, because that was the only light that the others, as Shaq calls them, showed up and actually shot the ball well for the first time since they've been in the bubble.
Yeah.
So Lakers up 3-1, and unfortunately, my man Dame, he gave everything he could for the bubble. Hurt his knee. He's out for game 5. He should be done. So that means Portland's done.
Poor Dame.
Yep, go ahead and take the part off. You got this time no more.
No more Dame time. Dang.
No more Dame time. No more.
But are we really surprised by this series? I mean, I understand that Dame.
No.
Yeah, because I understand that Dame was the MVP of the bubble, the preliminary games. But let us not forget, coming into the bubble, the Trailblazers, I believe, was the 9th seed. I believe they weren't even playoff qualified, and then Dame went out of his mind and got him into the game, into the series with the Lakers. But are you really surprised? I mean, you kind of are, like Bill Parcells said, you kind of are what your record says you are. Yeah, and even though I see storm clouds over LA, because LeBron at this stage cannot be the best player on that team. Anthony Davis has to be the best player on the team, and he's not. Right now, LeBron is, and his legs are just old. I mean, he just has old legs. I mean, he'll have spurts. He's had 2 great games in a row, but Anthony Davis has to shed the soft label, shed the getting hurt label, the fragile label, and he has to lead this team. And he has to lead this team. LeBron can be complimentary, and he could do his thing. When he needs to, he could be the Robin for the first time in his life. He could be Robin.
Ain't gonna happen.
Well, I'm just saying.
They're going to be complimentary to each other. The difference between AD, in my opinion, and Dwayne Wade and a Kyrie Irving is Dwayne Wade and Kyrie Irving could create their own shots. AD is a big man. He can handle the ball a bit, no doubt about it. He can definitely step out and shoot a jumper, but he is more of a traditional big man than most, and where he needs a counterpart to set him up. They'll definitely start dumping it into the post if that offensive game plan is what's necessarily needed. But right now, they can run pick and roll. LeBron has a great IQ. He understands the offense very well, and he understands what defense you're playing. So it's easy for him to get 6-7 assists alone and just alley-oops to both AD, McGee, and Dwight Howard. So I think they're still blending exactly how they want to play with one another, and especially when you're a big man and they counter each other so much. With Dwayne Wade and Kyrie Irving, you just swing to the other side of the wing, and then those guys can create offense for themselves or set somebody else up for a pick and roll. So I think it's the type of game that AD plays that causes that little bit of a rift, but they'll continue to work it out because remember, this is their first year together.
Hey, Johnny, do you think LeBron has the stamina to go the distance these playoffs?
He had 4 months off.
He had 4 months off. I think he puts the work in that pay off for him much more than any of these. Right. He's extremely conditioned. And I think the more they play, as you can see, they show small clips of LeBron getting it in 2 hours before practice and sometimes a clip afterwards. So I'm not about his body. I'm worried about his team. If his team is not shooting well, then yes, when he has to play 40, 45 minutes or something like that, I think that can be a problem when he can't get spelled for 3 to 5 minutes on the bench. A lot of times LeBron goes to the bench, he drink a little bit of water, he look at the LA Lakers, and he right back on the floor. The man can't sit.
Right.
Because he know this is the year. If he don't get it this year, he ain't getting it no time soon.
Yeah, you know who his
right.
trainer is, right? Y'all do know who his trainer is, right?
Who's that?
Same guy that trained Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. He know what he was doing. Yeah, he know. Yeah.
Tim Grover.
Wow.
So
I want to make. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead.
I want to make a point to something Ed said. I know we're definitely about to touch on it. The Dallas Mavericks and your boy Luka Doncic. I think the Mavericks have the team that LeBron wants. That's what he wants. If you take out Luka and Porzingis and you put in AD and LeBron, and that circle of shooters, Curry, Hardaway Jr., and all the host of guys they got that ready to shoot the ball and can create shots for themselves, like my man Trey Burke, that's the team LA was trying to put together. Luka got it though, so Luka is a bad boy.
Well, you know how I feel about
Dallas play as a team, man. They play as a team, and they all, like you said, Johnny, they all scrap. They all scrap, and they all can shoot. So trust me, they can go a little further in the playoffs as long as they keep playing as a team together.
All right. Well, since we're talking about the Mavericks, Luka is putting it on the supposed 2 best wing defenders in the league and making them look like they old men. including Kawhi. What Luka has been doing with these triple doubles over the last 2 games has been ridiculous. And then not only did he drop a 43, 18 and 15 triple double, but hit the game winner. Come on now, and talk trash the whole game.
Yeah.
BJ said it right there. BJ said it right there in the comments. Daggone Paul George needs to show up.
Right.
He does.
Stop being Casper the Friendly Ghost because we can't see you.
I don't think he has it in him, man. I just don't think he has it.
Man.
Because
What you call him, Johnny?
Pandemic Pete. He's not playing on me no more.
Yeah, he on a milk carton, man. He missing in action.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, being called playoff Pete was technically out of character. The man really don't show up like that in the playoffs.
But it's his fault. It's his fault. He the one that called himself that. That's what called him.
Wow.
How you know that's always a problem when you give yourself the nickname.
Right. He was like, I don't call myself Championship Chuck. And it's so I don't know. Just like y'all mentioned, Kyrie, it might be a mental lapse that Paul has, man. He got to get over it because you know he has the talent, he has the game, but out it just doesn't translate when it gets to playoff time and crunch time. Because we saw it last year with OKC. He just disappears. It's crazy.
That sounds like somebody we know years ago.
Who's that, Joe?
Who that, J3?
Daggone LeBron used to be the same way.
Oh yeah, he did. He did.
Same way as what?
He did. He used to disappear.
He used to be missing in action.
Not 10
No way
points.
near.
No.
Come on now.
Shit!
No.
Yes, he
Man,
did.
you got
Come on, man.
When he played with Cleveland, he ain't even won the ball in the fourth quarter. Oh no, don't give it to me. Here you go.
Give him
He
it
was
up.
20. He was 22 and took Mo Williams to the playoffs, to the finals.
And you know what's funny? Kawhi Leonard made a last-minute pass to the open player, and nobody criticized him. They do too much with LeBron. He tries to make the best play. I'm not saying he always. I can't judge his effort because I'm not there. But it seemed like the guy who had.
Jay. He didn't have that killer instinct, and you
You
know
know.
he did not have killer instinct.
No, he wanted to make the right play, and he was trying to fit in as a young boy playing with men, trying to be control of a team and a bad organization. So we're gonna leave that here. Let's move on, fellas. Let's move on to the Nuggets Jazz.
Donovan
Mitchell has been putting on the show, but I gotta give mad props to the young man that plays for Denver.
Murray.
Oh yeah.
He been going toe to toe with Donovan for most of the time, but he just doesn't have enough other horses with him. And right now, Utah is up 9, getting ready to go in the half. So it looks like Utah, unless they fall apart in the second half, may finish this tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Murray with the Nuggets reminds me of Booker with the Suns. If you just had a few more shooters with you, just a few more. Booker deserves to be in these playoffs.
Yeah. Real talk.
Great
From
analogy.
an offensive standpoint, I think he's better than Luka, if you ask me.
Oh my God! Shame on you. Luka's the best player
Gone too far there. You done gone too far there.
Luka's the best player in the
right there,
NBA.
We're gonna leave that one right there.
Hey man, Devin Booker, he's nice though.
I
Do
did
we eject Johnny Five from the show?
Hey, I got some strong facts behind it. I don't have all the numbers, but for years, Booker the man has a 88-point game.
Mm-hmm.
You talking about one aspect of the game, sir. You're talking about scoring. I will give you he's a better scorer. That doesn't make you a better player. That's one of Kyrie's
defense. Luka gonna get exposed on the defensive side. Booker would, but we don't know as much about Booker game because he played in Phoenix. You never seen him Phoenix play.
Except for when he comes to the game. Except for when he played the Wizards, we see him and he shit on us every time.
Hey, Dallas wasn't necessarily good when Luka arrived.
Exactly.
But they have a better. I respect Dallas organization. Dallas puts together a decent organization. For some reason, they have brilliantly picked away all of Europe and Germany's greatest players over the last couple of years.
Hey,
I don't know how they doing it.
Blueprint.
Right. But they have a great organization. They put around some great shooters. They have consistency. Phoenix, Devin is not benefiting from the consistency of, well, he is. He's benefiting from the consistency of Phoenix. The stank, the smell never goes away. But you place that same Devin Booker on one of these other teams, and the man is in the playoffs going off. He went 8-0 in that bubble, and he did in the game in both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard's face on a turnaround fadeaway jumper. You got to be kidding me.
No.
I give you that. Yeah. And it's well known in the NBA circles that the Phoenix is the worst run organization in the NBA. But let's move on to the final matchup, the revenge matchup. You got your boy CP3 going for throats and revenge against James Harden in those Thunder.
Chris Paul.
He taking names, kicking butt, pushing people. He got a real attitude out there right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
But Houston, I mean, in all fairness, well, okay, Houston should have Westbrook, but I guess without Westbrook, I guess it kind of evens itself out as far as if you look at the rosters. But Houston's team, look, that team's not a playoff. That kind of basketball is not going to win the playoff games. They're just not. They might survive against OKC, but they're going to fizzle out. That non-playing defense crap, shooting a million times a game. Whoever has a shot, shoot. That stuff that's not going to work. Paul West,
Nope.
what's Mike D. D'Antoni? What's that coach's name? D'Antoni. What's his first name?
Yeah.
He's
He'll be fired at the end of the season.
Yeah, that style's not going to work.
The problem with Houston is, just like you said, they shoot a lot. They go up, and then they let the other teams come back and catch them. I mean, if they would learn how to work the clock and keep their lead, they could actually win more games. But they
don't play defense.
Right. They
don't play defense.
Right. I agree.
They don't have enough bodies for fouls. If they win and somewhere down the line they end up seeing, if they would have happened to see LA, they would get destroyed by big men alone. That'd be the laziest series LeBron would have to play.
Well, that will be round 2 if they get by the Thunder. But CP3 ain't going to go down without a fight, kicking, biting, screaming. And I wouldn't be shocked if CP3 ends up winning this, especially Westbrook is already, they already said Westbrook.
No one said.
They've already said Westbrook's going to miss game 5. And when you're talking about a quad and the way he plays, he only goes 100%, 1,000 miles an hour all the time. I can see him coming, playing, and pulling it right again. So if Westbrook can't play these game 6 and game 7, Houston, we have problems.
We got a problem.
Yes, sir.
All right, fellas, let's move on to the other big sport, the NFL. Full steam ahead. Roger Goodell and his boys and keep pushing along that they're going to get this season started. But they had a little scare over the weekend. NFL had 77 positive tests over the weekend. But luckily, someone was able to do some quick deep dive into what's going on, and all 77 tests came from one facility. And that one facility had a problem. They retested all 77, came back, found out that all 77 were false positives. So that brings up another issue. If that was Saturday during the season, they had to wait 24 hours before they got results of the retest. What are they going to do? Not play the players on Sunday? What if it's a Saturday game?
Yeah, that sounds a little suspect, partner. Those results sound real suspect.
Well, that's the issue with this whole, testing throughout not only the NFL, but Major League Baseball and heck, society as a whole. There's no consistency as far as testing is concerned. There's like this one lab, they, like you said, Big Reg, they pinpointed these tests to this one particular lab, and now they're making arrangements for another lab to start handling the majority of their tests. But the testing, until we can get a hold on testing, there's no way to decide, are we going to play? Are we not going to play? They have to do the cautious approach. So if they do have a positive test, they don't know if it's false or not. They can't play the game. They're not going to play the game, because if you do play the game, that would create an even bigger problem. And this disease is all about containment. We if anything, we know that much. The numbers when everybody was locked in the house in April, the numbers was going down. As soon as Memorial Day hit, a little nice weather, everything exploded. And it's been going downhill since because it's still warm outside. It's still nice outside. But all I'm saying is, so containment is key. So if they have these positive tests, they're not going to play, and that's the problem. They have to come up with a definite, reliable testing mechanism in order to get the season started and have the season last. And I blame the NFL because, again, they had all this time to prepare for the season. Like, what were they doing? They didn't. I mean, they didn't really have any labor strife. I mean, they did renegotiate the contract between the NFLPA and the NFL, but that went smooth by from after a little going back and forth. That wasn't like the baseball issue. So they had all this time, and now they're left with this mess as far as testing and getting these false positives. It's their fault. I don't blame them. I blame them, and I don't feel sorry for them.
Yeah, one of our favorite listeners, Rosto, said the tests are all BS anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
Agreed. Because they're not telling you real numbers.
Right.
And some of the tests are just bogus. They're just bad tests.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now, go ahead, Zion.
I'm gonna answer this with a question. So, with bogus testing, do you think they would still play the players if they might be positive? Would they risk that just to play football, just to get money, just for the greed and everything? Do y'all think that?
Well, supposedly they have a fail-safe. If a player tests positive in the NFL, then what they're going to do is test him twice within a 24-hour period. And if both of those tests come back negative, they're going to allow the player to play.
Mm-hmm.
That would give me pause if I was a player.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because which test was right?
Uh-huh.
But to answer your question, Zion, a different angle, I would say they're going to, even though I just said they're not going to play, but if I'm really sat back and think about it, I won't put anything past the owners, because you have owners right now today trying to put fans in those stadiums. And in the big scheme of things, this is $1 billion. They have $1 billion TV contracts where stadium attendance is relevant, but you're talking about, mere peanuts compared to the TV contracts. Mm-hmm. So having fans in the stadium isn't necessary, and it poses a public health risk. So, but they're still willing to do it. So to answer your question, what would they do? I wouldn't put anything past them to win a football game. I wouldn't put anything past them.
I agree.
Agree.
So besides the tests, getting on to some of the camp news. First of all, they actually put on the pads the past week. So unfortunately, when you put on pads, you start having injuries. And then you had some of the on-field incidents when you put on pads. You generally have a little scuffle or two, but our man Earl Thomas took it to another level and tried to knock out one of his now former teammates on the Baltimore Ravens. And I think Earl was trying to scheme himself back to the Dallas Cowboys. But as I saw right before we came on, supposedly Jerry has given in to the other people in the organization, and Dallas is not currently interested in Earl Thomas. So,
yeah, wink, wink.
He may be in a situation where he may be a man without a team for a while until somebody gets hurt.
Yeah, that Joker there, he kind of played his card, leaving Seattle. And then he made it known even then when he was like, come get me, telling them at the end of a Dallas Cowboy game that he wanted to be there. So he made it public. So my feeling is maybe he didn't like the feeling in Baltimore, and he wanted to make sure that he did something drastic to get himself excluded so that Dallas can then swoop in and clean him up. I love McCarthy's little answer when he was like, "It ain't up to me, it's up to everybody else." And I'm like, watch, you're going to see how this plays out. That dude going to end up right in a cowboy uniform, and I hope we punish him.
I think Earl Thomas has. I think a couple things have gone on with Earl Thomas. First of all, I think he needs anger management classes because
I agree.
He worked his way out of Seattle, and if anybody's been following Pete Carroll for any amount of time, and I have since USC, he's the most loose players coach that you would want to meet. I mean, between him and Tomlin, I don't know who has more rope, who gives their players more rope. And subsequently, players love him. But if he pissed off, and if Pete Carroll said, you know what, I'm gonna wash my hands of this, then that tells you a lot. That really speaks a lot on it. And also, I think his personal life, and I'm not going to delve too much into that, but if you research, if you look into Earl has some things going on in his personal life. You know, some instances that cause concern.
He needs to take care of home.
Yeah, he needs to take care of home. So, and then combine that with the man is rich, and he's an athlete. He's from Texas. He probably had it easy and spoiled and had his way, because the word out of Baltimore was he didn't want to learn the plays, and that's what made the whole blow up with Clark, is that, you know, he missed an assignment. And this goes back to last year when he was missing assignment after assignment after assignment, and the Ravens were like, "We're going to be patient with him, and eventually he'll learn. He'll get it." But apparently he didn't. He's overweight. You can look at him on the field and see he doesn't look like the same player he did when he was in Seattle. So I just think that he has some things that he needs to take care of before he hurry up and sign with a new team. I think he needs to take care of himself first.
I agree. Let's move on. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there having these soft muscle tissue issues. We won't go into depth. Tune in next week. We will actually start breaking down our NFL previews for the year. So we'll get more in depth to that. But I do want to point out one rookie who's causing havoc with the Washington football team.
Right.
They say Chase Young has been unblockable in practice, no matter
99.
who they put in front of him.
99.
Right.
So
99.
Crush it.
99.
we looking for good things for Chase Young and the rest of that defensive line, but also with the Washington football team, as most of you probably heard, they got some real bad news. New coach, the man who's changing the organization and setting the tone, luckily found out early, but has been diagnosed with a form of skin cancer, and probably will eventually sometime during this season have to step away as he goes through treatment. And he's stated that Jack Del Rio will act as an interim head coach if he has to step away, but he's planning on coaching as long as he can.
Oh, man, definitely going out to him, because Del Rio, my Lord. Anyway, but yeah, when I heard the news, I really felt for him, because I think we all know how cancer has touched all of our families and how serious it is. I think the silver lining is that he caught it early.
Absolutely.
Great treatment plan in place. So we definitely wish Coach Riverboat Ron a speedy recovery. Do all you can do to preserve life, my brother, because that's more important than football.
Amen.
And a quick PSA to all the men out there. He said that he felt the lump like 2-3 weeks early, but just put it off, thought it would go away. If you feel something strange on your body, get it checked out, especially as you get older.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Last but not least, your man Roger Goodell has been out there stating that, again, that he wished he would have done more. He wished he would have sat down and listened and come to the forefront with Cap. We don't have a lot of time to really get into this subject. Maybe we'll bring it back in another show. But just give me your quick feelings about how you seeing the NFL kind of come to the forefront, putting their money, and seems like some action toward the fact that they made a mistake in the beginning.
Yeah, so as we stated in our planning meeting, fellas, the NFL is really stepping up. They're really doing a lot of things with the PSAs. They're allowing the players now to have more of a voice, similar to what the NBA has been doing for years. And I think the players are really embracing, that spotlight. Now, of course, we can cry, complain, and get upset and say, hey, it's a little bit too little too late. But like I said before, it's never too late when we talk about social justice. It's never too late when we talk about righting wrongs. It's never too late when we talk about correcting laws and behaviors and exposing bigotry and things of that nature. Roger Goodell knew from the very beginning what Colin Kaepernick was doing it for. But he got hijacked by the same person the rest of the nation got hijacked by, and the owner stood in lockstep with that individual. Roger Goodell just does things at the behest. We got to remember this, at the behest of the owners. And if they wanted that stuff out of the game, as they called it, and they wanted to ignore it, don't forget that the guy, the owner for the Houston Texans, who recently passed away last year, likened it to the inmates running the asylum. Mm-hmm. And we know how that sounds in our ears. It's a plantation owner mentality where players are supposed to shut up and just play. How dare they kneel? It was never about disrespecting the flag or our country, because it was a military man that told him that kneeling was a better show of respect and to show his voice than sitting down. And
real talk.
It followed suit, and he did just that. So now, do I think that Goodell owes and the NFL owes Colin Kaepernick an apology? You bet you they do. And they need to do one as soon as possible. And if it's not done, then the players that have been lending their voices to all these PSAs need to start speaking out against these owners, namely Jerry Jones, who is one of the most outspoken owners in the league, who has yet to say one thing about this movement that has been happening. And I think that silence is deafening, and we need to start making things come to the forefront.
But you ain't surprised by that, are you? I know you're not surprised by that.
Right. Which is the reason why the players' voices need to start getting louder.
Amen.
Cool. All right, folks. Well, it's time for us to get to our newest segment of the show, the post hot takes and updates. You ready for us, Professor J?
Yeah, I'm ready for you.
All right, let's hit it, brother.
All right. And, y'all just got to excuse us tonight. It's a lot of storms over the area, so we hit a few patches of technical difficulties, but, we're working it out so we can make sure we give exactly what you need. So let me get the rundown. The hot takes up for you, and I'm going to spit them rapid fire for you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we know very well that everything is fast-paced and hard-hitting, but your man LeBron James is now on fire again. And I'm going to tell you this, it's about time. The Lakers now have a commanding 3-1 lead over the Blazers, and it looks like Dame Dollar has sprained his right knee and is OUT out for Game 5. It's a wrap.
Uh-oh.
Speaking of destroying Father Time, that bad man is back. Aaron Rodgers is firing up training camp. Who has done more with less over the years, Rodgers or Brady? Go ahead and hush your mouth. We know the answer. Brady is going to put this team once again. Lionel Messi has made the news. He wants out of Barcelona. Rumor has it that he just wants to play for Manchester The Argentinian future Hall of Famer is exercising his right to muscle his way out of a lackluster situation. So stay tuned. And then Albert Pujols goes yard once again. He is now second all time in RBIs, past a cheater. Did I say that? Alex Rodriguez for 2,087 RBIs. So congratulations for AP for a job well done. So who you with? Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons? Is there a team full of claw playoff P trade to acquire one of them? Meanwhile, the 76ers claim neither is on the trading block. Wink, wink. The NFL has released its preseason power rankings. There are no shockers. Top 5, Kansas City, Charm City, San Fran, Who Dat Nation, and the Seahawks. No need to mention anybody else. All right, okay, I see you, man. Steelers, I rank number 13. The Cowgirls, boys, I rank number 8. Eagles Nation, Fly High, I rank 12. And the Bucks snuck up to number 6. And then Green Bay is 7. And the Washington team, 31. All right, so moving on. For all you gamers and NFLers, Madden 21 will be released this Friday. Get your copy.
Oh, yeah.
Accordingly. Fantasy football is coming to post. We will have a show for you coming next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Just in time for your virtual draft parties. You will get that expert analysis from the commish and draft do's and don'ts. And congratulations to former WBC IBF champ Sean Porter on a successful tune-up fight against tough German boxer Sebastian Formella, before colliding once again with Errol Spence Jr. when they renew their so he can avenge his loss against Jr. from last September. It should be an epic one. Turning things back to you, Big Reg.
I don't think
appreciate that. Appreciate that. Loving the new segment. Loving the new segment, Professor. All right, fellas. Does anyone have anything else that may have caught their eye during the week?
Yeah. Real quick. Shame on Montrezl Harrell. We're going through these social issues and we're, fighting endlessly. We have a lot of people out there working on, people of color's behalf. And for him to spit out the words that he did towards Luka Doncic, even though they seemingly made up before game time, I think it's wrong. I think you have to be cognizant. You can't have it both ways. You want to be equal or you don't. So I shame on you and get some help with that.
Amen.
Good. You got anything for us, J3?
Yeah, I caught something the other day, and I thought it was quite interesting. It was some women doing jumping rope, double dutch for health, and they're bringing it back. So if you need a good cardio, do some jumping rope or some double dutch. It's good for the heart.
Amen.
I got you. I'd just like to make people aware of some big events that'll be happening before we come back and see you next week. U.S. Open Tennis Championships start next Monday, August 31st. So for you tennis lovers out there, they're actually playing a tournament right now at the U.S. Open facility. They moved the Western and Southern Open from Cincinnati to New York because they created their own bubble. So tennis is on and going for the next 3 weeks. Don't forget about the WNBA. The Seattle Storm lead the WNBA by half a game over the Las Vegas Aces and the Los Angeles Sparks, with the Chicago Sky 1 game behind. Also, Takuma Sato won his second Indianapolis 500. So congratulations. You got a Japanese man who's won his second 500, the biggest race in racing. That's some good stuff. And there's some good boxing that's going to be on this week. Check your local listings. All right, fellas, ready for our final post before we actually get out of here. Johnny, good to see you got back with us. What you got for us for a final post, brother?
Everybody be safe. I did want to bring up James Blake, the senseless murder that happened in Wisconsin, and how the NBA players have taken advantage of their platform. There was a lot said before the season started. Should they rush back into play with so much that needed to be done on the back end of the George Floyd senseless murder? And I was happy to see that every time they were questioned post game or anytime anybody is interviewed, they'll answer a few questions, but then they'll direct you back to the situation at hand. And what's most important right now is making sure that we are treating each other equally. As far as my last post is everybody be safe, take care of one another, continue to protect yourself, and hopefully we'll see you next Tuesday.
Amen.
Appreciate
Amen.
that. Appreciate that. Ed, what you got for me, partner?
The RNC convention is currently going on. It's currently going on in Charlotte, and I would hope, and I just want everybody to, whether you are Democrat, Republican, Independent,
Right.
whatever you are, I just would hope everyone gets registered and exercise their right to vote. Take a little bit out of your day or night and do a little research for whoever you choose. Makes no difference to me. Just make sure that you vote.
Absolutely.
J3, what you got for me?
So I just got a quick text from Jay Minnie, who says she wants us to send out a quick prayer to Jackson State. There was a shooting on campus that just took place, so be looking on the news for that. But my last talk, I just want to say thank you to all our fans who have been following us for the last year. It's been a blessing to be able to bring this sports channel to you all. It's been a vision and a dream. And again, I'm just speechless. I don't know what else to say. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well said, my brother. Well said. A year. Whew. All right, Professor, what you got for me?
Yeah, so I want us to also keep the Morgan State family in our prayers. Definitely over the weekend, Jordan Cofield, a football player, died in a horrific motorcycle accident. So we definitely keep his family in our prayers as well as they go through this difficult and tragic time. So, yeah, we got to just remember, man, life is so short and we just never know when it'll be over for us and how we'll go. But we definitely got to remember, because that young man left a lasting impact, not only on his teammates, but his family, his friends, and his community. So rest in peace.
Thank you for that, Professor. Zion, you back on the hot seat. What's your final post, partner?
I just want to shout out to you guys for letting me be here, letting me listen and talk of what I think on social issues and in the sports world. But for Black Lives Matter and for the people of America, I want to say, please show more peace and love in this world. I feel like it's so easy to hate and to be so divided, especially with a leader we have right now. So I just want to shout out and say, please show more love and peace to one another. Love is not a weakness. Actually, it's tougher to love people who did you wrong. So it takes a tough person to exploit that love over hate. So shout out to that.
That's my son.
Young man, good job. Good job.
Hey, Zion, I'd like to thank you from everybody here at the Post Crew. We appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts and really giving us the real deal about what's going on in the campus. We need that information to share with our public so that we can get it out, because a lot of that stuff doesn't come out, unfortunately. Like I said earlier, stay safe, keep being who you are, doing your thing, and nothing but much success for you in the future.
Sure.
Thank you.
As far as my final post, fellas, I'd just like to say, in the words of a previous guest that we had, Chief Ayers, especially for us black males, I know it's not right. I know we shouldn't have to do it, but the goal is to get home alive.
Amen.
In situations where your blood is boiling, you're being taken advantage of, and they're doing things that they definitely shouldn't be doing, remember, get home alive. Stop, deal with what you got to deal with then, so you can live another day, so you won't be possibly paralyzed or dead, and your family will suffer for the rest of their lives. You can deal with the legal ramifications afterwards. Get home alive until we can change laws, till we can change the systematic oppression that is put upon all people, minorities, especially black and brown people. Get home alive. And most importantly, vote early. Tell your friends, family members, your crew, your social media, get out and vote. And don't wait for November the 3rd. Vote early. And if you're going to mail in vote, don't put it in the mail. Take it to your election person. Take it to their office or take it to their designated drop box. All right. I'm going to get off my soapbox now. As Joe said, it's been a year. We are truly blessed to still be here with you guys, and we appreciate everybody who's been there from the beginning, who's come along. Thank you. We can't say that enough. We'll be back next Tuesday, 7 p.m. for our anniversary show.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time, the opportunity to share our positions on sports with you. Tune in next Tuesday. We're going to do football heavy next week. Please tell your friends and family. We in it. We doing it. We're going to keep getting this thing bigger and better. We appreciate you all. This has been Post. See you next week. Peace.
See ya. God bless you.
Yeah.